Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well on this fantabulous Thursday. Yeah. I'm pretty confident that it's Thursday. But what I am absolutely confident with is the fact that you look amazing. I hope you are feeling as good as you look, and I hope that this week has been good to you. But what hasn't been good to some people is justice. And when we talk about certain things, we get labelled as conspiracy theorists, don't we? Just because we question the system, we question the establishment, we are the ones who are in the wrong. We have channels that build themselves upon ridiculing us for daring to think outside the box, to look at everything, question everything, and not take everything at face value. You yourself have probably been one of these people at some point that has dared to step outside of the herd and say, do you know what? I'm not 100% sure I can follow where this herd is going. Something just doesn't sit right, doesn't feel right, and there's certain things that the herd isn't questioning that I feel that I want to question. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about, in particular, today, the Richard Allen situation, which is the Delphi case. Now, we know the Delphi case has been running on for years. I think it's running into its 6th year coming up. A case that is held quite close to my heart, bearing in mind that I was born on the 13th of February. And some of you, almost all of you, will know the significance of that date when we talk about the Delphi case. But what is happening in the Delphi case? Again, most of you will know there's been a massive amount of information that has been trickling out. Some of it like a tsunami. They have been stating that Richard Allen is in fact innocent. I know there are creators and people alike who don't believe that. They don't think that at all. And when we look at Bryan Kohberger versus Richard Allen, there are creators. I know JB Gunner has been one who has said, I am willing to give Bryan Kohberger the benefit of the doubt, but when it comes to Richard Allen, I just feel that there is something. Now, I think a massive part of that comes from the fact that Richard Allen supposedly, and I think is quite highly likely due to where that information came from, that he confessed to doing the crime. But what we have to consider, and I think is very important to consider, is what people are willing to admit to if they're given the right incentive to do so. Coercion, for instance. We know that people have admitted to doing things that they have not done in the past. We talk about young Michael Crow when we think about The Interview Room and Chris McDonough. Chris McDonough was an officer who had been part of what they call the, I think it's the Reed method, where they basically go on and 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 on, and they push people into admittance of a crime that they did not commit. And in that situation with Chris McDonough and Michael Crow, it resulted in an underage child admitting to murder, a murder that they, in fact, did not commit. So when it comes to believing that someone's admittance of guilt 100% proves that they are the guilty party, that just isn't the case. Now, myself personally, with regards to the Richard Allen and the Delphi situation, I've never believed that Richard Allen done it on his own. I've believed, perhaps naively so, that Richard Allen was potentially involved in it, but I always felt that this case, it felt like there was more people involved. It felt like this was a group situation. I had considered such things as the dark web, perhaps. And that was long before the recent information came out about the Odinites or the Odinists, whatever they call themselves. But I just, again, it was just the way the crime happened, and knowing full well that these real deep, dark, seeded underworlds exist. And it just, like I say, so happens that then the Odinism connection started to come through, trickle through, and again, the aforementioned tsunami that we are now seeing. So let's just touch on this most recent document, as this is now video 1 of 2, and the video later will be 2 of two, because I'm switching them round, because this is important. And we will be touching on something in a second as we just talk about Brian Kohberger quickly. But look, this is what we're saying. So Alan's lawyers call for charges to be thrown out and claim that interview recordings with key suspects were deleted. Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen's case should be thrown out because cops deleted interviews with the real killers, an occult sect, his lawyers have claimed. The latest legal drama surrounding the case involves attorneys Adam Baldwin and Bradley Rotzi filing a motion to dismiss on the grounds of destruction of evidence key to their client's defense, exculpatory evidence removal. Again, we hear these things like over in the Idaho 4 case with Brian Kohberger. We believe that there's potentially, or Ann Taylor certainly believes that there is a potential for hidden exculpatory evidence. And that's very similar to what we're seeing here, the actual destruction of exculpatory evidence. Allen is charged with murdering teenagers Abby Williams and Libby German near the Monon High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana in early 2017. Allen was arrested in October 2022 and charged with 2 counts of murder, but his lawyers have long claimed the shocking killings were actually ritualistic murders carried out by a cult called the Odinists. Now, we won't go into details as to why that is. It's quite graphic, and there's lots of information that tells you exactly about how the murders took place, what happened, and you must admit, I don't think anybody can sort of say that doesn't have a ritualistic feel to it. Now, could it have been something completely different that was made to look like that? Certainly could, but again, I always felt that there was something more to this crime. And now they're using interviews police conducted, then deleted with unnamed Odinist members to try and spring their client free. They say a contradictory answer given by an Odinist during 2 police interviews 6 years apart in 2017 and 2023 shows they are likely the true killers in this teens. Details of that contradiction have not been shared. Recently, the case prosecutor moved to expand the charges against Allen to include 2 additional counts of murder and 2 counts of kidnapping. I'm going to scroll down. At some point during the still unfolding saga of this case, the attorneys publicised an alternate theory of the case that did not involve their client, but did involve a mystical, ritualistic murder. The prosecutor's office called the cult killing theory unfounded and predicted an absolutely no proof. And predicted on absolutely no proof. I don't believe that is the case at all. Allen's attorneys, however, pointed out that investigators spoke with key suspects who they allege are at the centre of their cult-killing case. 2 of the suspects were interviewed by police in the days following the murder of the 2 teens, at least one of whom was recorded in their interview. In their motion, Rotzi and Baldwin allege that there are documents summarising these 2 interviews, which they view as integral to their ritualistic killing theory and therefore to the defence of their client. The pair say that they tried to track down the recordings of the interviews but discovered that they no longer exist due to a DVR program error. In essence, deleted. They've been recorded over. The motion reads, a destruction of material interviews of key suspects early in the investigation demonstrates negligence, if not intentional conduct on part of the state. The deleted evidence, they say, is critical to the theory of defence. There we have the picture of Bridgecott. Now, I don't know what people think here. Now, I personally, and I know I could be wrong, so please don't shoot me down, that in my eyes is not Richard Allen. That is not, in that footage there, that is not Richard Allen. Again, in my opinion, I do not believe that is so. Alan's attorney have repeatedly attempted to have the charges against their client thrown out, previously making their case by claiming that evidence seized during a search of Alan's home should be thrown out because the warrant the police used was invalid, they argue. A hearing was thus far not been set to discuss the defence team's most recent attempt to get their client off scot-free. A hearing set for February 12th to discuss new charges, as well as the prosecution's attempt to have the defence team held in contempt of court, is up in the air, as the defence team is attempting to have it pulled back. In the initial aftermath of the murders, police released a blurry image of a man dubbed Bridge Guy, who became one of the main suspects in the case. It was taken by one of the two girls, the other chilling image shared on their Snapchat, likely showing their killer approaching from a distance. During a police interview, Alan told officers he had been on the bridge of the day the girls' deaths, and his wife later confirmed that her husband owned a Carhartt jacket similar to the one worn by Bridge Guy. An affidavit released in November 22 shows that the unspent .40 caliber round was found between the teenager's body, and it was later linked to Alan's Sig Sauer model P226 firearm through forensic evidence. But this is where we are. You know, it seems to be going a little bit crazy, And some people say that this is just conspiracy. This is just a defense team trying to get their client off by any means possible. But look, we've seen multiple deaths around this case. We've seen people lose their lives. We've seen so much stuff that makes you raise your eyebrows. And it gets to a point where that hits somewhere where you just can't any longer say, I'm willing to ignore everything. There has to come a point where you have to consider what is going on here. Richard Allen has been reduced to a mess, you know, and some people have said he's done it to himself. He's trying to play the victim card, and I get it. At the end of the day, the Delphi case, what happened to those girls was heinous act. And when you point the finger at someone and say this is the person that done it, people are going to feel a certain way, and it's very hard to get over that, to overcome it. And I get it, and you can't rarely blame the people for feeling that way. And again, if you get a person who feels a certain way and they are unwilling to, or they don't have the ability to look at everything and take time to dive and consider the different nuances and consider what else is going on in the background, then they're always going to feel that way until someone that they trust tells them otherwise. And sadly, a lot of people put trust in the system. And in this case, is that trust misplaced? Should you trust the system here? Or is there more pieces that just are being either hidden or, I don't know. Let me know down below. Richard Allen, innocent or guilty, or are you on the fence? If you once believed him to be guilty and now believe he's innocent, or again, your confidence has wavered in the system, let me know down below. I would be pleased to hear how you feel about it. Like I say, I've always felt that this was more of a group thing. I always did. I did believe that Richard Allen was part of it, but not just on his own. I don't see him as a lone killer who did this. Not at this stage. And as time has progressed, even more, I've doubted it. But again, let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in video 2 later today.